Wrestle Magic Pod, official sponsors of British Empire Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very esteemed to have on the show today at Wrestle Magic, the one and the only, the living legend, Larry Zbyszko. Larry, first of all, how's your health? How are you doing?
Well, you know what? I've been really lucky health-wise. I'm great. My health is like a 40 years old. You know, lungs are clear, heart strong, blood pressure good, and all that. But back in the day, you know, throughout my life in the weird, wild business of professional wrestling, but I'm one of the guys, I've never took steroids. I never drank alcohol my whole life. I think it should be illegal. I never got into the drug thing. I was a private pilot. And my buzz was renting a plane and flying town to town, you know, to do the wrestling shows. I flew all over the country for 25 years, and I'd take off after the show, and I'd be in bed by midnight, and the guys that were driving were pulling in at 4 a.m. I really been lucky because everybody I know that's not dead yet, they have artificial knees, artificial hips, artificial shoulders, something. But I don't have artificial anything.
This is amazing to me, especially with everything in your past, everything that you've done in your life. But I first of all, I also want to say Memphis Mark Tedford, a good friend of mine from Memphis, Tennessee, who has watched you longer than I've watched you. I want to welcome you to the show. And of course, we have our producer, Jimmy Street. But I just want to say, Mark, welcome to the show. And what would you like to say to Mr. Larry Zbyszko?
Can you guys see all of me?
Yes. Well, I can see you look great.
You do.
I see my head, but yeah, there's a button that says leave meeting, and next to it says okay, but I'm afraid to push it.
No, sir, we couldn't see that.
Right,
but
as long as you can see me, that's good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's like I said, and like Michael said, it's an honor, a great privilege. I've watched you. I just turned 60. So
60, you're a baby. I wish
yes,
I was
sir.
60. God,
I love
74.
You, man. Yes, sir. I love you, man. But I've seen everything from the old days of the Shea Stadiums all the way. We'll let Michael get going here, but in a little bit, I've got a few questions I will just want to ask you. Sure. Michael, you go right ahead. We'll come back in.
Okay, so I got to go straight with what's hot. You sold out Madison Square Garden how many times?
Well, you know what? Multiple times. I think maybe 3. And we built it up to where the third one, Bruno was beating me up, so I ran out of the ring and ran to the dressing room, which set up, in those days, fairly rare, the cage match, because people would realize I couldn't run away. But when we sold out the Garden, there were so many people, the Garden couldn't hold them all. So the Garden plus the felt forum underneath the Garden was sold out. And when we went to Shea Stadium, there was like 44,000 people or whatever. But there was like 5,000 people or more turned away because the baseball team league wouldn't let the promoters put chairs on the infield and the outfield, you know, like the chairs would dig in and mess up.
No way.
Ballpark for the ball players. Yeah, they wouldn't let the promoters put chairs on the infield and the outfield and mess it up with, you know, all that stuff.
So what was it like in the territory back then, a territory obviously, New York being the number one heel in the world?
Well, it was kind of a shock. I didn't really expect people to hate me that much. I mean, I was in a cab going up a ramp at Boston Gardens, and a mob pushed the cab over as it started going up the ramp. So the cab was upside down, and the cab driver was a little old guy, scared to death. One time we had a riot, me and Putski, I started a riot on the way out. some guy stabbed me in the ass. And then one time in Albany, New York, I stepped out of the room, after the match to get to the car, and boom, someone took a shot at me. And you could feel the little brick pieces above the door fall. I said, well, that's it. So I started carrying a gun ever since. It was
All right, Mark, if you have a question, please go.
You know what I did? People hated me so much. And the day before all the music and entrances, I wrote and sung a song in one take called Boo on Me.
Yes, sir.
And it's funny because I never did anything with it. I wrote it and sung it in one take with some friends of mine that had a sound studio. They wanted to, some help to set it up. So I sung Boo on Me. And then years later, one of the guys from Pro Wrestling Tees made this shirt, the Boo on Me shirt. I never really publicized it. And then a friend of mine, not too long ago, 3-4 months ago, put Boo on Me on Spotify. And I'm not a computer guy. I have a flip phone, so I don't know what Spotify is. But if you hear the word Spotify, I wouldn't even think of music. Call it Musicify or Songify, but Spotify. But if you want to listen to Boo on Me, you can go to Spotify. And I think it's on YouTube, too.
Yes, it is.
I have no idea how it got there.
Yeah, everything's on YouTube.
Yeah,
everything.
About the truth.
I
have
am
to
sitting
go to
here.
the bathroom, put it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm watching your cage match now. I don't know if I can officially say that, but I was the Boo on You, and of course the movie. I just watched the movie,
The Unbreakable Bunch.
Yes, sir.
Good for you. What'd you think?
I liked it, and I tell you what, I hated that Stan Hansen got killed like that.
No one hurt Stan. No one hurt Stan.
Well, he was a volunteer fireman at that stage. Now he was.
I know, but it's just.
You know what? It was a well done movie. It was a low budget movie, but it's not a wrestling movie. It's not about wrestling, but a group of wrestlers save a town from aliens. So it's kind of an action adventure science fiction. It's family friendly. I think it's on Amazon.com or.
Right now, it's still on Tubi.
Oh, Tubi. See, I don't know. When I was growing up in the 50s, and TVs were getting in every house. Every house had a big antenna sticking up off the roof. We only had 3 channels. And then the news was from 10 o'clock, the programs went off. And from 10 to 10:15, you had the news. That was it for the day, 15 minutes. And then 10:15 to midnight was the late night movie. At midnight, the TV went off and all you saw was a picture of an Indian with a big headdress.
Yeah, with a tear. Sometimes the one that had the tear going down.
The tear. Don't go there, Mark. That's
now you got 3,000 television stations. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, so, and what about the TV stations as far as the local stations promoting your events? Now in Memphis, of course, we had what we had in Memphis, which was the share market was unbelievable. Just about, I'd say 8 out of 10 TVs was on Saturday morning wrestling. Where in your areas that you traveled was the biggest TV recordings that y'all did?
Well, the biggest TV and the most publicity you would get was the old WWF days, because they had the big cities, Boston, Philly, New York, Washington, the Garden, Pittsburgh. But back then, no social media or anything. But all the magazines with George Napolitano and Bill Apter, The Wrestler, Wrestling Review, they all came out of that territory. So when you were done with the WWF or they were done with you, you could go to AWA, NWA, and the fans already knew who you were. But that was the only place that publicity came out of in those days. And then it was an interesting story when the era changed and it went to nationwide cable. And the thing that always strikes me funny is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Yes, sir.
In order for them to get off the ground, they had the AWA wrestling show on.
Well, that's something I'm going to bring up with you, sir. So go ahead.
That show was the show that gave ESPN enough ratings to stay in business. And then when they got off the ground, they canceled pro wrestling because they didn't consider it a sport like football and baseball. But they used wrestling to get off the ground. So did Turner when he started, the TBS show. And I remember going to the TBS shoots in the morning, and all TBS was a trailer with a big round satellite dish pointing up in the sky in a little parking lot, and it showed at 7 a.m. But, wrestling always got good ratings. People love to watch it. It's an amazing form of entertainment.
Release.
Mr. Zbyszko, I am very starstruck right now, okay?
Stop it.
No, well, the first time I saw you was probably 1987 on ESPN, AWA, ESPN, 4 p.m. I remember in between breaks, they would tell you how much gold was worth and silver was worth every day. Okay? You probably remember this. So I remember that they used to call you Spudhead. But there was one thing that always got me was you had a little stable with Ninja Go and Super Ninja. Who were they? I've wanted to know all these years. Who were they? I think one of them was Paul Diamond.
No. You know what? It was weird because in high school, I took up amateur wrestling and did real well. That impressed Bruno when I met him, and he helped me out and blah, blah. And then between wrestling seasons, I took martial arts to keep up the skills and learn more. I took a style called Ishinryu. It was an Okinawan form, hard style, started by Master Shimabuku. I'm talking now like 1968, 69. But to get a black belt, you had to do 2 weapons katas, and their preferred was like the bow and the sais, those like sword-looking little dagger knife things, the sais. But you couldn't take those on the airplanes because they looked like big knives, metal knives, which were a farming thing. So I got into the nunchucks because I could put the wooden nunchucks in my bag and take it on the plane. And I was in a dressing room in the AWA in the shower, and I was warming up before the match, and I'd warm up sometimes using the nunchucks, spinning them around and, doing nunchuck stuff. And one day Vern Gagne walks by and he goes, "What the hell is that?" And I went, "Well, they're nunchucks. It's a martial arts weapon, used to be a farming tool." That's what I'm talking about, something unique and different. So the next thing I knew, I had a ninja, Mr. Go, that Vern brought in and wanted me to wear a karate outfit and use the nunchucks. I think I had Bockwinkel with him and Greg Gagne. And then Mr. Go is a Japanese guy. God, I can't remember his name, to be honest with you. It was, a long time ago. But after a while, Mr. Go, the original one, went back to Japan. So Vern had a local guy dress up as the Super Ninja, the Ninja. And that was played by Steve Olsenowski from Minnesota. So he was the second Mr. Go. And it was funny because you had me, Zbyszko, and Olsenowski. So you had 2 Polacks running around.
I was so invested. As in Zbyszko, Super Ninja, and Ninja Go. I was like, I want to know who they are. They're going to unmask them someday. And they never did.
Steve Olsenowski was the second one. And God, I remember, I know it, Tatsumi Fujinami, but he wasn't Mr. Go, I don't believe. but I can't remember the original guy's name. Vern brought him in.
Okay, well, Mark, would you like me to take it, or would you like to go?
Well, I tell you what, I was going to ask you, Mr. Legend, if I could just mention a few guys' names, and you can either say nothing, or you can give an opinion, or if you've got a good little story, I'd love to hear. But these are just some people that I've seen you wrestle over the years that I thought was amazing.
Okay, go ahead. If I say no comment, that means I won't say nothing bad.
There you go. Yes, sir. I totally agree with that. And we'll start off with Killer Kowalski.
Oh, Killer Kowalski, Walter. That's an interesting story. Older guy. I mean, when I started, Walter was already kind of getting up there, coming to the end of his career. And he had a weird experience in his life because he was like 6'7" or so, like 280, 290. I mean, big guy, Killer Kowalski, and he was over. People feared him and all that. And then he had a weird life-changing experience. He said, he was engaged to this woman he loved, and the woman died, unfortunately, sad. And he said he was driving down the highway one night and almost wrecked his car, went swerving off the road because he swore he saw his dead girlfriend, fiance, standing in the middle of the street. And then Walter became a big believer in reincarnation. So if you were in a restaurant eating a steak or something, Killer Kowalski would come by, look at you and go, "Who are you eating?" Nobody, Walter, it's just a cow, but he had a weird life experience, but interesting guy. I think he's a guy that trained Triple H too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Triple H and Perry Saturn.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. You actually mentioned this gentleman's name a little earlier, but Ivan Putski.
Oh, Putski. He was... It was funny because we started a riot one time, but he was popular with the crowd,
Oh, yeah, the Polish Hammer. Yeah.
And it was funny because one time we're in a match somewhere, and back in those days, you had a couple of police and really no guardrails or the setup they have today. So I'm having a match with Putski, and there's some wise guy sitting at ringside, and he's yelling at Putski. He was a bad guy fan. And he's going, "Hey, Putski, your mother's ugly." Man, Putski ignores him, and we go on with the match. And then a guy yells, "Hey, Putski, I slept with your daughter." Putski, just ignores it, nothing, Then we're going on with the match, and the guy yells out, "Hey, Putski, you're really short." Well, Putski lost his mind, jumped out of the ring and started hitting the guy. And then other people came in, and I jumped out to try to hit Putski and get him out of the stupid riot that was starting. And while I was out there, it felt like someone kicked me in the butt. Because when Putski came back in the ring, I kicked the ropes, he held his nuts, I beat him, people wanted to kill me. But when I got back to the dressing room, Arnold Skolin was playing cribbage with Andre. And he said, "Well, it sounded pretty good. Did you have another riot?" And I went, "Yeah." And some guy kicked me in the butt. It really hurts. And I put my hand back there. And I go, "What the hell is this?" And I pulled out a blade from a skinny knife. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was like Japanese knives that looked like a piece of wood.
Like Ginsu?
Yeah, I guess, but but it was a sheet. Part of the wood was the handle, and you could pull it out, and the other part was the wood. So it was a skinny, long blade I pulled out of my butt. The scary part to me was the guy said, "Hey, you better stop at the emergency room and get a tetanus shot." That's what scared me more. And in the old days, probably today too, but the gang members and the criminals, they would take a knife and stick it in a raw piece of meat and leave it sit there, in the warmth, not cold, but stick a knife in a piece of meat for like a week and then pull it out, not clean it, put it in the sheath. And if they ever got in a knife fight with somebody and cut them or stabbed them, the person would get a horrible infection because of the rotten meat and the disease that came off the, disgusting stuff. I shouldn't have said that. No ideas, people.
Yeah, but I definitely understand exactly what you're saying. And there again, you lead into the next gentleman I was going to ask you about. The gentleman on my shirt here, Andre the Giant.
Andre. God, I played many a game of cribbage with Andre.
I love to hear some good Andre stories.
Well, I didn't hang out with Andre a lot because he had a special driver. He had to have a special car to get into because he couldn't get in a regular car, right? But I remember in Japan is when I'd spend time with Andre. We'd sit on the bullet train and play cribbage. And Andre would walk into like a Japanese bar, open the door and go, "Huh!" And the Japanese guys were diving out the windows. Because, my God, what the hell is this? Now, Andre had a hell of a sense of humor. And I'll tell you one quick story. It's stupid, but one time, me and Andre wrestled Killer Kowalski and Big John Studd in some match. And at the end of the match, when we won, Andre would scoop me up by the butt and pick me up by over his shoulder. And we'd wave to the crowd, and the crowd would go nuts. So one time, Andre picks me up over the shoulder. We go to wave, but I go, "Whoa, whoa," and I fell over backwards deliberately, like a rib. And I'm laying on the mat, and Andre comes down. "Oh, God, are you okay? Oh, my God." And then later on in the motel, a few of the guys were in the room talking, and Andre was one of them, and I was one of them. And I was getting ready to go in the shower, and we were laughing about the rib I pulled on Andre. And as I walked past Andre, he grabbed me, opened the motel door, shoved me out in the hallway, took the towel and slammed the door. And no one's going to open it because Andre's there. So I'm standing in the hotel hallway completely naked, trying to figure out how to get the front desk to let me in the room. Andre wouldn't do it, but he was a hell of a guy. We had a good time with Andre.
Oh, now, Michael, you can jump in because I've got just people that I could ask about all day long, and I don't want to take up.
Definitely the same thing. Talking about Killer Kowalski and, multiple legends like that. I want to ask you a little bit about, did you ever really have any good stories with Ray the Crippler Stevens?
Ray the Crippler. I really didn't meet Ray until I was in the AWA, did a lot with Bockwinkel, and Ray came in a little later, but he was already older and working at a bar, and I did some matches with Ray. He was a classic, great guy, but I really, to be honest with you, never spent any time with him because he was, older than me, and I never really knew him that well, to be honest.
What about Adrian Adonis?
I never really knew him well either.
Well, I knew the back age of the AWA. Like when I first started seeing you and first started realizing who you were, was the late '80s, the dying territories of the AWA. I hate to say it, but that's what it was. And you're a fantastic wrestler. Okay, you were part of. This is something I really want to ask you about. What was it like being part of the Dangerous Alliance and everybody? Rick Rude, Bobby, I miss you so much, Eaton. Yeah. I mean, you have so many. Steve
Rick
Austin,
Rude,
so
Stone
much talent.
Cold started.
Yes.
There.
What was your thought being put into the stable?
Here was the deal with that in a nutshell. TBS didn't really have a good clue about professional wrestling or who was who, but they hired, long story short, they wound up hiring Bill Watts to take over and be the head guy of running the wrestling show. And Bill Watts in real life was an a-hole. In fact, he knew it, and he was proud of being an a-hole. And he came in, and after a while, the TBS people were going, oh, my God, what the hell did we hire? Because they had an office like on the 14th floor of the CNN Center now, and Bill Watts wouldn't go down the hallway to the men's room. He'd just step out on the porch and take a piss over the 14th floor porch that would run down and bounce off the food court. It's the kind of guy Bill Watts was. But in those days, you're talking about heat. The good heat was starting to go away. The dirt sheets were coming. There's a different generation. A lot of guys were now into the muscle head steroid thing. And the art of working was starting to get lost. And I didn't want to lose it because I had heat. People, even in the mid-'80s and late 80s when things were changing, people believed in real life I was an a-hole, in real life. That's why I could be accused of stalling, where I could kill 10 minutes. The crowd was chanting, Larry sucks, Larry sucks. And they meant it. So I'd let them go. And then when I felt it coming down, I'd do something. Because if I did something right away, they'd stop chanting.
Exactly.
But the thing about the Dangerous Alliance is Bill Watts comes in, messes up the program, and all he wanted to do was push Eric Watts. But I didn't want to be part of a group because I want to be me, the living legend, the big thing, that I got from Bruno. And I want to keep my heat. And I didn't want to be part of a group. So what I did was I told TBS people, I hurt my knee. So they paid for a knee scope, get a little torn cartilage. I've had 4 knee surgeries. Nothing bad, but torn cartilage things and that. So I was home, and it's interesting. I was home floating in the pool, rehabbing my knee, and took myself out of the group. And one day I get a call from a guy, Craig Leathers, I think, was one of the executive producers of the production. And they asked me, they said, hey, Jesse the Body Ventura just quit. Can you do us a favor and come down and maybe voice over a couple of pre-taped shows we have for the syndicated markets? And I never planned on ever being a broadcaster. I wanted to be Bruno, not Shivani. But so I said, well, hell, I'm getting paid for sitting here floating in the pool. Let me go down. I can sit there. So I went down and did a couple shows with the broadcasting, doing the color. And after we're done, the door swings open and the guy comes in and says, Larry, you're the best guy we've ever heard. Do you want to be the color man? We'll give you this much a year as an employee. And those were the days where the contracts were starting, so talent wouldn't flip back and forth. And Turner was giving away money like he was printing it out of the basement. I made more money talking than I ever did wrestling as an employee with the benefits and all that. And that's how my 10-year run, God bless him, of being a broadcaster started, because I never planned to be one. It just happened. And I was like 41, 42, and I'm thinking, God, I can work a day a week, day and a half a week, play golf 4 or 5 times a week and not get beat up. And the business was changing a bit already. And,
Larry, I'll tell you, one of my favorite moments was when the Giant, Paul White, took Eric Bischoff over his shoulder and brought him to you because you had a little feud going.
Oh, yeah.
He threw him, and then he did the Larry Legend.
Oh, the Big L.
Yes, I love that. I love the Big L, by the way. I love it.
Well, you know what? It was amazing. The people bought it. I was so surprised and loved them. I went from the biggest heel in the 80s to like beloved. People would chant Larry until I did the Big L. And
you were the best of the big
Well, thank you.
I mean, I don't know anybody who else could sell out Madison Square Garden with Bruno like you did. Okay, you did something that nobody else had ever seen before. I mean, you couldn't find a better heel, and you played it well, but you didn't play like the super dirty heel. You played a smart heel. I gotta say, like, hats off to you. You know,
well,
hats off to you.
Thank you very much. I mean, but that's the stuff I learned of psychology from Bruno and all the old timers that wouldn't help anybody else because they didn't want to lose their spot. But, you know, Chief Jay Strongbow, Tony Altimore, Gorilla Monsoon, I can go on. They all gave me advice and taught me some psychology because they figured that would put them in good graces with Bruno. So I had more political power than I even realized. You know.
Before I toss it back to Mark, I'm going to ask you about one more person, a person I was a really big fan of, the Stone Mountain from Stone Mountain, the Crusher, Jerry Blackwell.
Oh, Jerry Blackwell? You know, I knew Jerry kind of. I mean, it was hard to really know a lot of guys in those days because you'll be in a territory 5 months, 6 months, and then go somewhere else. And even when you were there, you're driving here, driving there. Like I said, I was a pilot, so I flew planes back and forth. And it was a mortal sin in those days. The good guys never rode together with the bad guys. In the arenas, the good guys would have a separate dressing room, never the same dressing room with the bad guys, which was another part of the building. It was very protected. And I didn't know Jerry super well. He was a nice guy, but it used to crack me up because he was very heavy.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yes.
I remember one time in the car, I'm talking to him, and the whole passenger seat was full of food snacks, food munchies. I mean, as Jerry drove down the highway, he never stopped eating. You know, but yeah, he was a good guy, nice guy.
I'm just curious. And the only other thing before I toss it back to you, Mark, is this man, the Baron.
Oh, the Claw?
Baron von Raschke.
Yeah, I mean, he was an AWA guy, a little before my time, but he was still there. But back in those days, it was easy to get heat. I mean, after World War II, if you were a German, you know, Waldo von Erich, and you goose-stepped across the ring, you'd get insta heat. If you were a Japanese guy, Professor Tanaka or Saizo or Mr. Fuji, you know, you'd get insta heat. And they'd play up on that, too, because that was at the end of World War II still, even though it was like 20 years ago, there was still, you know, heat to play off of. And Baron did a good job on it. He was a big guy, nice guy, easy to get in the ring with, and did his thing with the Claw. And, you know, back then, in those days, people bought it. They were into it, and it was easy for him to get heat because he was the German guy.
All right, Michael. I tell you what, I'm going to combine because everybody talks about one other front guy that was always out there carrying the belt. But since you've worked with them all, between Harley Race and Nick Bockwinkel, if you had to do a match that you would want to make sure that your legacy was upon, who would you have a match with?
God, you know, they were both great. And I worked a lot with Nick Bockwinkel, and he was great in the ring. It was a night off. I think I had a couple matches with Harley Race, not many. He was kind of getting up there. And Harley Race gave me one of the biggest compliments I ever got in my life. We were at some show, I think it was with the NWA, where I wrestled 60-minute Broadway with Tommy Rich.
Oh.
And I went backstage, and Harley came up to me and said, Larry, that was the best 60-minute match I've ever seen. And I really took that as, you know, to the heart as one of the best compliments I ever got. There was another top compliment from Lou Thez.
Wow.
But, yeah, me and Tommy had a 60-minute match, and it was great.
I've met Tommy many a times, and I know
He's a
that
character.
yeah. In his younger years, I'm sure. In his younger years. Now, you've worked with a lot of big guys also, but my favorite big guy, other than God bless his soul, Frank or Brody, Bruiser Brody, was Scott Hall.
Oh yeah.
And Scott was just, I got to meet him on several occasions. He was always a nice guy, always polite, and not like my family did in restaurants, nightclubs. So we were, we got some of the guys in. We were right down from the TV station where they taped on Saturday morning. So Friday nights we would get some of the guys in. But Scott, what did you think of him?
I like Scott. Me and Scott were very close. And he was a very nice, respectful guy. I had funny story. This was in Winnipeg, Canada. The AWA would run Winnipeg. And I got there, and when I got there, the guy came up to me, Wally Carbo, and said, "Hey, you're going to have a match tonight with some new guy. It's probably like his first or second match. So just take it easy with him, right?" I said, "Some new guy? Oh, God, he can hurt me." So I look out, and the guy said, "Oh, yeah, there he is right there." And I'm looking, and there's 6'6", 280-some pounds of Scott Hall. And I'm going, oh, my God. This is the guy I'm going to get in the ring with for the first time, his first match or something. But he was good. He was smart. He listened to me. And when I told him to do something, he did it. The crowd popped. And at the end of the match, he was super thankful. But we had a relationship very close that lasted years. I lived in Orlando. He was down the road in Oviedo. And I liked Scott, and he was smart. I mean, when you listen to him do interviews, he made the bad guy something likable because he was so cool. He was able to talk and do that stuff. I mean, he was really a talent. And it was just so depressing that one demon had a hold of him, where when Scott was straight, he was great. And then he'd get, too messed up, and he had a demon haunting himself for years. It's really too bad.
Yeah, a tremendous talent. Tremendous talent.
He was great.
And was Peter Maivia really that tough?
The Chief. You know what? I'll tell you two quick stories. One, me and Gorilla, I mean, the Chief, all the island boys, I never messed with an island boy because they're all big and crazy. So, but the Chief wasn't like a Carl Gotch. He wasn't like a shooter or a hooker or like that. But he had a head, big gorilla head with big teeth. And what he did was, one time me and Gorilla stopped at a rest area on the highway to get gas. Maivia pulls in up by the building because someone with him got out and went to the men's room or something. So Maivia's sitting there, and he's got this big Lincoln with the bright lights on, shining into one of the trucks, because there was a truck stop area too, and a bunch of trucks lined up. So the truck guy would blink his lights on and off, like, "Hey, you got your bright lights in my face." Peter Maivia, he had no idea he had the bright lights on. He had no idea how many lights his car had. He was an island boy. So finally the trucker gets out, and he goes to Maivia's car and starts yelling at him, and Maivia opens the door a little bit, and the truck driver slams it. The next thing we knew, the door explodes open. Maivia's out. He grabs the guy. They fall on the ground, and the guy is screaming because Maivia is eating him through his T-shirt. I mean, the guy's T-shirt was red. He was eating him. Me and Gorilla looked at each other and went, "Should we?" And we went, "Nah, let's get in the car and go." Now, that was the first time. The second time, I believe it might have been Japan. We were in some club after the show, and Billy Robinson was in there. And when Billy got drunk, he got a little goofy. And he's singing Waltzing Matilda, and he's drunk. Anyway, Chief Maivia was in there too. And now Billy was a good hooker. He was from England. He knew how to hurt you. Anyway, long story short, him and Maivia get in an argument. Billy grabs Maivia and throws Maivia on the ground. The next thing you know, Billy Robinson is screaming because even though he's on top of Maivia is eating him through his shirt, just biting away with blood and shirts ripped and pieces of Billy's skin. So me and Chavo Guerrero had a nickname for Chief Peter Maivia. It was called Tiger Shark. And one time in a plane, Peter said, "Do you call me Tiger Shark?" "No, we never heard of that. No. You know what? And the other funny thing was, it was funny, but if it wasn't for me and Gurria, there might not be a Rock. Because Maivia is the Rock's grandfather. And he had his daughter promise to marry another Samoan royal-blooded real prince. They wanted to keep the blood royal and the royal blood because he was really a royal-blooded king guy and took it seriously to death. When he found out about his daughter and Rocky Johnson, he wanted to kill Rocky. And there was a couple of times where we got in the dressing room and Maivia was in the corner. He was already half smashed. You could see him in his face. He was like not there, but in a bad mood. And Skolin would come up to me and Gurria and say, "Hey, you guys go in the parking lot. And as soon as Rocky pulls in, tell him to go home. Maivia's drunk," and Rocky knew what the hint was. But yeah, a couple of times we got Rocky out of the way because Chief wanted to kill him.
This is a bit more candid interview than I thought it would be, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really loving this.
Well,
Larry,
you
are great.
You don't know.
Well, so there are some questions I do have for you. First of all, who was your favorite road partner? Like traveling, like when you had to run a car together.
Well, you know what? When I first got to the New York territory, me and Gurria rode a lot together. And we split the trans. Sometimes we take Tony Altamore, someone else with us because we'd split it three ways, the gas. And because there was no contracts, no guaranteed money. If you didn't sell tickets, you didn't eat. But Gurria was great to drive around in. And then after a couple of years of living in a car, that's when I got the private pilot's license. So I started flying around. Some guys wouldn't go with me. They thought I'd crash. But Tiger Conway Jr., he flew with me a lot. He was like my co-pilot for a lot of flights. So me, Tiger Conway, did a lot of flying together. And there was another guy, I believe his name was Steve Regal, but it's confusing because it's not the Steve Regal.
AWA Steve Regal, right? Yeah.
And me and him were good buddies, and we rode a lot together. But, there wasn't a lot of guys, but there was a couple here and there, and then I did a lot of flying, which limited the guys because they thought I'd crash.
All worried about that whole Ric Flair thing that happened, a couple of years early.
Yeah, he was in a crash. He could have died.
That's why I never took a back bump. I'm also going to ask you, who do you think, because we talk about Steve Regals, so let's not talk about just AWA Steve Regal. And I consider Brad Rangan's one of them, best chain wrestlers?
Brad Rangan's chain wrestlers. What exactly do you mean, chain?
Well, chain, like
guys who can really wrestle?
Yeah, technical wrestlers, yes.
Well, it was interesting because the business was changing when I was doing the broadcasting. And you had the bodybuilder guys like Lex Luger. Every match was 3 clotheslines and a torture rack. Then you had the Nasty Boys and Public Enemy. All their matches were running up and back, but clotheslines were invented. So the science of working in wrestling was starting to disappear. And as I was doing the commentating, Steve Regal, Lord Steve Regal, appears from England, and he had a good look about him. He got kind of an insta heat the way he talked, but he could also work. He was a real wrestler. And I said to myself, I pulled myself out of the broadcast position and set up a thing where me and Regal had some matches, because I wanted to show the guys that you can have matches without the stupid clotheslines, which were so overdone. And, in fact, the first match me and Regal had went like 30 minutes on TBS. They showed the end of it the following week. And Brian Pillman was running around the back dressing room area saying, hey, these guys just wrestled 30 minutes and they didn't throw one clothesline. So I was trying to set an example with Regal so the guys could see you can have a hell of a match and get people without being, the work was already disappearing and the era was changing. I don't know what they are today. I mean, you got amazing athletes, but every match they just run up and back and then flip over the rope and three guys are going to catch them or they crash through a table. It's like the same every match. It's a different era, a different show. And I'm glad it changed when I retired, because you got a ring of SmackDown, Raw, NXT, and the WWE is a great company and you got amazing athletes, but they're doing really high risk things. I'm surprised these guys are 40. They're going to have artificial everything because they're really taking some high risk stuff. They're putting on an amazing show.
Now, I'm going to say this. Currently, if you're watching the product, no matter what company, who's your favorite performer?
Well, that's the hard part to answer because, like I was just saying, every match is the same. They all run around. They all start slapping each other in the chest. If you're in a real fight, you're going to slap the guy. And then they dive over, they stand on the top turnbuckle, flip back and crash to the announcer's desk. But they all do it, and it's like everybody's kind of the same. So it's hard for really anybody to stick out. I want to see a new Brock Lesnar. I want to see a new Bruno. But they're all kind of same. Like I said, amazing athletes, and they work their butts off doing, high risk, dangerous stuff sometimes. But they all do it. It's all the same. And then you got to sit there after that and watch a 15-minute skit where there's 4 or 5 people in the back talking, but no one sees the camera crew. So it's hard for me to watch a full show. I do a lot of clicking.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry to step on your toes.
No. I just wanted to follow up with what you were just speaking of when you mentioned Brian Pillman. Have you by chance seen his son wrestle in the development league?
Yeah, I think he's got a different name with King.
Yeah, Lexus King.
Lexus King. Yeah, I've seen him, and he's got a good look, and he does what everybody else does. He runs around and flips and dives and slaps and clotheslines, and it's just they're all the same.
You're not saying anything that the man speaks,
Well, you guys know, and the thing is, the fans know, but the fans are different than the fans I had in the old school era. They appreciate the amazing athletes they are. And they're not fans like they used to be. They're like part of the show now. They're like one big family. And they got their signs and they got their favorite chants. This is awesome. Holy shit. Holy shit. You effed up. You effed up. They love being there. God bless them. But again, it's an amazing form of entertainment. It's like one human car wreck after another, because they all do the same stuff.
So I have a real quick question, and then I'll leave it to you, Mark. So when you're doing commentary on Nitro. Mike today was always smiling. Were you guys like flicking him in the leg or something like that, trying to make him smile all the time? Just trying to like rib him a little bit?
No, to be honest with you, I don't remember doing any ribbing because that was serious business, you know. I mean, people don't appreciate really the commentary. The people that do the play-by-play and the color are really have more importance than they get credit for, because with all the hard work and stuff going on, it's the announcers that bring everything to life and make it, mean more. So we never messed around with any kind of ribs or anything. Mike was a great guy. We got along great. He was fun to work with. They called him the professor. He knew every little detail about things I never even heard. I mean, he was the professor, yeah. But we never like ribbed, especially during a show, because that was serious stuff.
Gosh, man, who do you still keep up with, by the way?
Who what?
Who do you still keep up with? Like, like who's still part of your life in wrestling?
A couple of guys I know they're dead, but I really don't keep up with anybody wrestling. I mean, a good friend of mine is Terry Taylor, who lives 10 miles away, and he's one of the finishing coaches at the Performance Center. And I live 5 miles away from the Performance Center. I used to go down there a bunch, but I really haven't been back hardly since the COVID. The COVID messed everything up with getting in the Performance Center. You had to get there at 5 a.m. and wait in line and get a shot and test you for COVID before you, so, I never. But Terry's he's a close friend of mine, good guy, and we talk about stuff, and we both have the same opinion of what's going on at the PC and what you want to teach the guys. But it's hard to even teach the right psychology because you really need two to tango. And the simple stuff they don't get. I mean, like the good and the bad guy. If you're a good guy, you can't run across the ring and the bad guy picks up his foot and kicks you in the face, because you got outsmarted by the bad guy. You look like an idiot. And the bad guy doesn't get any heat because he didn't cheat. He just outsmarted you. So there's simple psychologies that's hard to get in because there's so much all into the same thing. Big bumps, flipping over this. And again, amazing athletes. But damn, they make it to 40, they're going to have artificial this or artificial that because they're really doing some high-risk, amazing stuff.
Well, I do think that our time is kind of coming up here.
You're kidding. I went by so quick. Wait a minute. Boo on me.
So whenever we sign off for a show, we always do a movie, recipe, or a song, anything that you would like to share or any message you'd like to share.
Wrestle Magic.
Man, I will go and just say this is, thank you very much for asking me to do this. Mr. Zbyszko, Larry Legend, sir, thank you very much for taking the time out today and honoring us with a little bit of your time. And I hope the rest of your day and weekend goes fantastic. And as far as recipes, look, you take a corn dog, you cook it, pull the stick out, cut it down the middle, have your little chili, some onions, a little cheese, put that in there, put the cheese back on top, put it back in the oven for 3 minutes. Every kid loves you.
Oh, okay. I'll remember that. But thank you. This went by so quick. I could talk to you guys all night. It's fun.
I will say that I'm going to go with anything that you can find at Shenanigans Irish Bar and Grill on North Avenue in Louisville, Kentucky. It's all it's my menu. It's my menu. So it's the home of the 2-foot hot dog. Yeah, I run it on Tuesdays. I run the kitchen. So I've got a big 2-foot hot dog that if you're hungry, come see me, okay?
It might take me 2 sittings to eat a 2-foot long.
You take it home, eat it later.
I also will say, like, as far as a scary movie goes, because we are in we are in Halloween season. I want to go with Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. The reason 2 is because in 1, it was serious and they were hunting hippies. In 2, they're hunting yuppies. And it's a comedy. It's a comedy.
Yeah, you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for some good old stuff. I used to love like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
I do like that.
Abbott and Costello,
I do
Bob
like that.
Hope, the Ghost Breakers. I'm waiting for him to show some good old stuff. I'm hooked on Perry Mason at night now.
Oh, that'll get you.
Mr. Larry Legend, anything you want to get off your chest, by the way, I'm not going to do it without doing this.
Well, thank you very much. And you know, and I'm also involved in a new show starting up that's actually not a show, it's a sport. It's an ancient sport that was big with the Egyptians thousands of years ago. The Roman Empire turned it into a physically brutal sport, submission wrestling. This show is going to start on Triller, some new streaming thing.
Yeah.
In a week or two, and it's called Shoot Pro. And it's real submission wrestling. There's no punching, there's no kicking. It's the pure art of and the science of human anatomy, how to put a grip on you can't break, how to puff someone's shoulder out, break an arm. I mean, it's not hard. But it's going to start on Triller in a week or two. Keep your eye out for Shoot Pro because it's a resurrection of an ancient sport.
Oh, wow, nice.
Most definitely. Jimmy, can we get that spliced in, please?
You can Google shootprowrestling.com. I think.
Well, Jimmy being our producer, he knows how to, put
do all that. Yeah, I know nothing.
Yeah, no, we'll get, that'll be a good advertising. That'll be nice. Yeah, you just did a good spot for it.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we go with it?
I did some color commentating on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm definitely checking it out. Shoot Pro.
Yeah, check out shootprowrestling.com and.
Okay, so it'll be on Triller, which used to be Fight TV, guys. If you have or had Fight, yeah, it used to be Fight.
I don't know. There's 3,000 stations. I got a flip phone. I got a $50 flip phone right now. But I don't. Yeah. To everybody listening, I hope everybody has a happy holidays from Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and everybody in 2026 has a great year and to make it simple, we're all human beings having a life experience, on a beautiful living planet. So I hope everybody has fun and good health and don't drink. Forget the drugs. Get a sports car.
Or a plane.
Rent a plane. Yeah, that's a buzz.
There you go.
Thank you very much, Larry. We appreciate you. Wrestle Magic Pod loves you.
Yeah, let me know.
Yes, sir. You have a good one, brother. You and family, be safe.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Go get them, guys.
Yes, sir.
Wrestle Magic.